Master?
Yes, sir.
Hello and a very wonderful morning to all of you. I'm As- and I'm Astha Chauhan, a member of EDC Acropolis. On the behalf of Acropolis Institute of Technology and Research, I take this opportunity to welcome all of you in this amazing session of design element and digital gaming. As we all know that India, despite being the home of globally popular games such as chess, ludo, snakes and ladder, is not among the leading developers and manufacturers of toys. Currently, the toy market of India stays at around 1.5 billion US dollars. But moreover, the majority of these toys doesn't even represent India's civilization, its value system, and its great culture and heritage. Toycathon 2021 is an inter-ministerial initiative which is organized by the Ministry of Education's Innovation Council and got supported by the All India Council of Technical Education, Ministry of Women and Child Development, Ministry of Textile, Ministry of Commerce and Industries, Ministry of MSME, and Ministry of Information and Broadcasting. Moving on to the topic, a digital character's job is not just to create the story for a game, but also explain the environment, the characters, the sounds, the music, the event triggers, and all the possible actions. Nowadays, the design element is something which keeps the childhood alive. And the aim of the Toycathon 2021 is to keep the child in us and the heritage and the traditions alive in a young mind. Toycathon 2021 is a unique opportunity for teachers, for students, for startups, and for all the toy experts and professionals to submit their innovative toys and games and get a chance to win prizes which worth 50 lakh. So without any further ado, I welcome our chief, I welcome Mr. Tarun Chhugani, an astute professional with more than 15 years of experience in IT, telecom, and manufacturing and quality, Six Sigma and project management, BPMS, which is business project management, and, and automation reengineering, productivity improvement, ISO led auditor, ITIL, change management and management reporting, data analysis and training. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a ton. So BPMS is Business Process Management System. So it talks about processes. Okay, and it's part of gaming industry as well. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. So let's start. Let's start with the very fundamentals and let me set the expectations. So today's session is going to be very elementary and very basic. So as far as the audience is concerned, I'm aware that some of them are, budding startups and some of them are students. The reason we have kept this session as very elementary because this is the first session and subsequently basis on the needs, we can go ahead and figure it out what needs to be deep dived. Okay. So thank you once again. I welcome you all to this session. And to start with, let us try and understand what is digital gaming. So first of all, let me tell you, gaming industry is one of the fastest growing industries. So that definitely has a lot of scope for you guys. You have got a very bright future. And as we move ahead in the session, I will share further aspects of this industry. Okay. So what is a digital game? So digital game is, any conventional game which is digitalized. So if you have to put a definition, in fact, if you guys want, some of you can take even notes, that would be helpful for you guys. So I'll go very slow. So a digital game is an interactive program for one or more players, okay, meant to provide primarily entertainment, okay. Apart from that, there are games which could help you in learning and possibly some more value addition. It is an adaptation of a traditional and convention game with very basic things like you have got rules, you have got players, you've got representation, you've got environment, etc., etc. However, it is managed electronically and by digital means. So, to put it in one simple line, a digital game is any game played on an electronic or a digital device. So, any examples? Let's see what could be the example. A simple video game is also a digital game. Now, digital games are coming up now. However, they have been into trend for more than 2, 3 decades. In fact, even more than that. Now, I don't know how many of you would have seen those old games of Mario or Commando, or previously there used to be a company by name of Nintendo. Now, Nintendo is a Japanese company which used to make video games, primarily video games. So it all started with video games. Then came, Xbox and PlayStations, all that stuff. Now everything is getting digitalized and it is coming into your handheld device, which is your mobile phones. So all these things fall under a category of a digital gaming industry. Okay. Now every industry keeps evolving. Like every industry, this industry is also still evolving, and India has got a way lot to go ahead and cover. North America is definitely way ahead of us, and so please assume that you have got a very bright future at least for 1.5 to 2 decades. Okay. Now we have discussed what is a digital game. Now let us see how difficult is it to become a digital game developer or a designer. So just like any industry, is it hard? Maybe yes, maybe no. So becoming a digital designer or a digital game designer is just as hard as getting into any other career. So for any other career, whether it is medicine, whether it is management, whether it is engineering, you know you need to have that skill set. And also in the coming competition and way the market is improving, you need to be constantly refreshed and relevant, also upgraded from time to time. However, by applying yourself and keeping your long term goals in mind, it can be a very very rewarding and a fulfilling career and easy progress, just like any other industry. Okay. I hope it's clear right now, whatever we have discussed. If you have got any challenge, is the pace fine? Is everything else okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in case you guys have got any questions, keep noting it down, and at the end we can try and address it. Now, the next thing, what is important for a digital game? Very basic things. You have a player, you have a goal, you have rules, you have feedback mechanism, and these are the basic elements of any game, whether you have a card game, whether you have a non-digital game, whether you have got a conventional game. Now, digital gaming has got two very very important aspects. Okay. One is game development and second is game design. So let's see what is the difference between the two. So as you talk about development, as the name suggests, it is more about your game development. It is like coding. Okay. Just like any coder would do the coding, the game designer or the game development guy, in fact, the game development guy does the coding. Now, is knowledge of coding important for development? Yes, it is mandatory. Okay. Now, for development, you should have certain degree of knowledge for C sharp, Python, C double plus, so on and so forth. Some use even JavaScript. So development is more of a back-end work. Whatever you are doing in the back-end will be a part of your development. Now let us see what is game designing. So designing is more of an aesthetics. Okay. It talks about your look, the feel, how does the user interface look like, how much is it, easy to use, how much it can actually keep you hooked to the game. That is a part of designing. So for development, your primary skill set would be your knowledge of coding, your logical, rational, and reasoning. For designing, it's more of a designer's job, and while it would require certain degree of coding, but it is more of a creativity work. Okay, so this is the basic difference between development and designing. Now, how do you do this? How do you achieve this? So for development designing, usually there are engines. Now, what is an engine? A game engine is nothing but it is a tool which a game designer uses to code and basically plans and quickly develops a game. Okay. Why is it important? So that you don't have to reinvent the wheel, you don't have to start the work from the scratch. So this makes the life easier. Now, depending on whether it is a 2D or a 3D game, you will choose your engine. So there are various kind of engines. So for example, there is an engine by the name of Unity, then there's an engine by name of Unreal, then you have got Cry engine, Amazon Lumberjack, then you have Game Maker, etc., etc. Now, why are these engines used? Basically, what happens when a designer or a developer starts working, if he has to start coding from the scratch, it would take a lot of time and effort. So what this engine does is basically it helps you accelerate or increase your efficiency, thereby decreasing your turnaround time. Okay. So how do you choose these engines? So these engines are basically chosen on the basis of the functionality of your game and also whether it is a 2D or a 3D game. Okay. Now let's see what else. What else do you think would be there in gaming? So another important aspect of gaming is the genre. Now, what is a genre? Like you have genre in movies, in web series. Similarly, in games, you have got genres. Now, these genres are again divided in various aspects. So it could be action. So it would be a action-based game. You have adventure. You have got hybrid genres like action and adventure. Okay, that could be one genre. Then you have a genre of simulation where you have simulating games, and you have got strategy games as well. So there could be other aspects also, but these are the major ones. Also, then you have MOBA. Now, what is MOBA? I don't know how many of you have heard of it. I'm sure you would be knowing it. It is basically a multiplayer battle arena. Okay. For example, PUBG. Now, it is a many players can play it. Or, for example, Call of Duty. Now, multiplayers means, you are sitting at one location, your friend is sitting at other location, multi-location, you can invite the players and you can start a game. And some games have got limit, some games do not have limit. But yes, more than one player can play. So this is known as MOBA, MOBA. Then you have got FPS and TPS. What is FPS? That is a first person shooter and a third person shooter. This is again a kind of a genre. Then you have something known as RPG. Now, this RPG, I'm not talking about a gun, which is a rocket propeller. I'm not talking about a rocket propelled grenade. It's basically a role play game. For example, Assassin's Creed, okay, or Cyberpunk. These are kind of RPG games. Then there is a specific genre which is known as platformers or platform based. So usually or widely used is like Sony PlayStation. So for example, there are games which are designed to be run on a specific kind of a platform. For example, all of you would have heard about God of War. Now, Gods of War is can be played only on Sony PlayStation. It would not be compatible with any other platform. So any other is like you have got MS Xbox. Now Xbox will have its own set of games which they develop. So these large organizations, they develop their own games at times. Large corporations also develop, and which are known as AAA games. Okay, we'll discuss that at a later stage. Okay, but right now this is important for you to understand. So this is all about genre. I hope it makes sense. Is this clear? Any doubts in this? Okay, so I'm assuming that you guys are thorough with it, and let's move ahead. Now, when gaming is there, there are certain industry standards. It's not only in gaming, whether it is automobile, whether it is manufacturing, engineering, medicine, management, there are certain industry standards. Now, just like IT industry has its own standards, gaming industry has its own standards. Now, there are, softwares like Maya, which is most widely used. It is used for designing. Okay. Now, there are again two aspects to it. One are the paid ones, like I said, Maya. Okay, it is used for character designing, for animation, and quite a few things. Right now, the challenge you have is that for students and for startups, it could initially be problematic that you would not have enough funds, or you don't have enough money, or you're just in the experimenting or learning phase, wherein you would not be interested in spending this kind of money. Later on, as an interest develops, you will definitely be more than happy to invest money into it. So these are not freewares. However, just like every software, you have a freeware also. Okay. So for example, there's something known as Blender. Now, Blender is free for all softwares. It is used for 3D designing. And the beauty of this is you don't have to pay anything. So it is a software which is from an open source. Okay. Who all can use it? Students can use it. People, those who are trying their hands on gaming industry, they can use it. Some small startups, those who have just started doing it, they can definitely use it. And the biggest thing is, the biggest advantage is there is no license issue with this, since it is an open source. So nobody can tell you that, you have stolen our intellectual property, because as long as students are using anything, even if it is pirated, which they should not do, nobody will say anything. But for startups, it becomes critical, because the moment you start getting into money making business and you're using someone's intellectual property, you could be into a deep trouble. Okay, so this is for all newcomers and people those who are doing this. Please ensure, whatever industry you are into, never ever encroach someone's intellectual property, because you might feel that it is okay, but they might get offended and it can put you in a big trouble. Okay, so I hope we are on same page till now. So what else? So this was about industry standards. Okay, now this era of last year, which was also a pandemic era, also you can call it, 2020, it was a time of hyper casual games. Okay. By the way, whatever we have discussed till now, I think there were certain questions. So I suggest that we can take a 5 minute stop here and try and answer a few of them. So, the anchor, would you like to read any of the questions
Yes,
so that
sir.
I can answer it? Yeah.
Yes, sir. We have a question from Madarsa Satapati. She's
Yeah.
asking that she don't know how to code the game. So how she can overcome that?
She doesn't know how to code the game. Basically, she doesn't know coding, right?
Yes,
So,
sir.
as I said, for a designer, you have to be a coder also. You need to have certain degree of knowledge. And I think I told you or not, having a knowledge of coding is mandatory. So, if you have knowledge of coding, it will be helpful. Plus, as I said, there are engines which would help you, right? I hope I have answered that question.
Madarsa?
Next question.
Okay, so next question we are having from Dimple ma'am. She was asking that where do we put in the educational board games and learning games?
This is about the genre that you've just explained.
Yeah. So where do you put education games and learning games? Okay.
Learning games, yeah, that's related to
So
knowledge.
as I said, see, as of now, I had mentioned genres like action, adventure, blend. Okay. Primarily, as I said, a digital game is for the sake of entertainment. But for moving ahead, initially they were made, for example, Ludo or Snake and Ladders. Okay.
Mhm.
Even chess, these were made for entertainment. But as education industry is also evolving, and now in the current times we see that everything has gone online, there could be games. In fact, it can come up as a new genre also. There could be games, specifically educative games. Okay, not necessary that we have to follow foreign countries, right? You don't
Right.
have to follow Europe or US. Okay, India can have its own genre also. You can just name it as Gurukul. Okay, and
Right.
all learning games could fall into that. Okay, you can have games based on Vedic mathematics to teach mathematics, right? It could be a game, and it could be very friendly. People those who are scared of maths can actually go ahead and learn mathematics, and they won't even realize that they're learning something, right? For example, chess is a game of entertainment, but I don't know whether you realize it or not. The more you play chess, your mental ability grows. Okay, your thought process, with every new game and with every new player, your your brain is a kind of a processor. Your processing speed increases. Okay, your thought process changes. That previously this was a step I took. This time, in the same situation, I can take a better step. Okay, or how fast I can finish the game, or how fast can I think. It actually helps you in your strategic management and strategic thinking as well. Okay, so I hope I have answered that question. In terms of genre, where do you put? Thank you, ma'am. Okay, next question, please.
Okay, sir. So Vinay Bhatt has asked that can we use Construct 2 for the game engine?
Construct 2,
Yes, sir.
or is
Construct
she
2.
asking that, or we can uh, use two engines to construct a game? What is the
No,
question?
sir. The question is like that.
Construct 2 is an
Can
engine,
we
right?
use Construct 2 for the game engine?
You can, but at times all engines would not be fulfilling all your needs. So basically, you have to choose engine on your need base and which helps to solve your purpose. Okay. Okay. So, any other question you have, or I think we'll take two to three questions because otherwise we'll not be able to
Yes,
finish
so we can
everything.
take in the end. We are getting a lot of questions
I,
and
I,
nice
I
responses
know,
as well.
I know. So let me finish the session and then we can, go one by one and see what are the maximum questions we can
Yes,
answer.
yes,
So we were talking
definitely.
about 2020 era, which was an era of pandemic and everything was under a lockdown. In a way, see, it was really a bad phase. I mean, the phase is still on, but everything has a good side also, So it came up with something known as hyper casual games. Now, what is a hyper casual game? The beauty of this particular kind of games is it has got a very, very low production time. Actually, end to end production can be finished just in 4 to 5 weeks. That is a month's time. Now, this is a best thing for you guys, okay? Those who are into startups or those who are into, still learning phase, or you want to, evaluate your career. The development and design, it usually takes just 2 weeks. So 2 weeks is not too long, okay? Now, 2 weeks of development design does not mean 2 weeks of development, 2 weeks of design. It is basically a simultaneous process. Okay, a developer would develop in 2 weeks. Parallelly, designer would do it the same thing also in 2 weeks. So, in a span of 2 weeks, your development and design is ready. Then, uh, for production, it will take around a week's time. Okay, but for the final product, before the final production, it has to go into testing, right? So 1 week of testing, 1 week of production. Now remember one thing, all games do not undergo production. Like everything, for example, the latest thing which we have is vaccine. Initially, it also went into testing, right? If you do not clear a test, you do not get promoted to next level. This is there in education as well, right? If you do not, clear your exams, you do not move to next level. Similarly, once you have developed and designed a game, you have to put it for testing. Once you're through with testing, then you go for a final production, and that is where you put it on a platform to sell or tell the people, or a beta version to be used. Now also one more thing, when you are doing testing, how would you do testing? Ideally it is random sampling. So if you would see Instagram or any of the digital platforms nowadays, you will get these pop-ups. Someone or the other would have designed some game and they would want you to download it or start using it. So what happens the moment people have downloaded, they start using it, they get a feedback. Okay. And if the test is successful, it goes under a production. I hope this is clear. Hyper casual games. Now, hyper casual games, as I said, it is beneficial for people, those who have started their career or those who are still exploring their way forward. Now, what is the benefit? Number one, you need low manpower. Now, this is specifically for the startups. Okay. You can start this with low manpower. When I say low, low means how much? High and low, less or more is always relative. Low means ideally you can start a company with just two or three people. So imagine two, three good, smart, intelligent young guys can start up a company, a gaming company. Okay, it is as simple as that. One of them has to be a developer, one of them has to be a designer, one could be a testing and a production guy, or your marketing and sales guy, or a strategic guy. Also, there could be one guy who can do development and design both. Okay, who can have the skill sets of both. Okay, now this also gives you a flexibility for your creativity. Okay, now one important thing for these kind of games, it has got a very, very, very low shelf life. Okay, when I say low shelf life means you develop a game, you float it in market, people will start using it, soon they will get bored. In fact, you will also get bored, you would want to do something new. So the good thing about this is that it always keeps you on your toes. Your innovation, your thought process is always on. The flip side is it goes out of market very soon, which is okay as long as, see, लाइफ में ना ग्रो करते रहना बहुत जरूरी है. There's a word, Japanese word known as kaizen, जिसको हम हिंदी में बोलते हैं प्रगति. Okay, that is very important. As long as you're learning, as long as you're growing at every stage of life, it's not only in school or college, even I'm sure your professors, lecturer, teachers, even till date, they are learning something new every day. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So learning is a gradual and a continuous process. Okay. So this will help you with lot of learning. Now, there is another category and a class of games which is known as AAA games, and they are known as big games. Now, what is the difference? It requires huge funding. It can go in some $1 billion. There are very large organizations which get into it. Now, hyper casual games, your funding is also very less. You can bootstrap it, number one. Number two, you don't want to bootstrap it. Even if you'll ask for funding, anybody would be more than happy to fund you. Because uh, since the capital is less, obviously the profits are also less. But since it is more of a volume business, you'll still end up making some or the other profits. It might not be really large or huge in million or billions of dollars, but it is decent. So your ROI is actually better in hyper casual games. It is practically quick bucks. आप बहुत जल्दी उसमें थोड़े टाइम में आप पैसा कमा सकते हैं. बहुत ज्यादा पैसा कमाएंगे नहीं. पैसा कमाएंगे, yes. Coming to AAA games, you need funding in millions at time, billions. Development time, it could be 3 to 5 years, maybe more than that. Okay. What else do you need? You need very large teams. Okay. You need very large team, 40, 50, even 100 people. Okay. Then you also need people to manage large teams. So there is an additional cost of managing it. Management is there. Since you have invested, then you need a separate sales marketing division to sell it and ensure that stays in market. Okay. So I don't know how many of you have heard about, GTA 5. Okay. It is one of the games created by Rockstar Games, one of the leading manufacturers or a gaming company. Okay. They did almost R&D for 7 to 8 years, and then the game was developed. Okay. So that is the kind of time it takes. Okay. Then there's a game known as, uh, Cyberpunk 2077. It took almost 9 years. Okay. CD Projekt Red was the name of the company which had developed it. Okay. Now, I don't know how many of you would know. There were a lot of bugs. It was for in India. It was for around 2,999, and then a lot of people asked for a full refund. Okay, they spent 3,000 rupees on a game, and then they asked that there are a lot of bugs. We want, you know, our money back. And in spite of that, it still made some amount of money. So gaming is a loss making? No, it's not. It is profit making? Yes. It reaches a break even? Yes. Sooner or faster. But if you think you will have, kind of losses or a typical risk factors, risk is comparatively less. But the only thing is you have to be very creative. Okay. Any questions now after this particular topic?
Uh, yes, sir. We have some additions. Can I take some questions?
Yeah. Yeah. Is there any question based on this
Yes.
for
So
hyper
not
casual or
completely based on this, but yeah, but we are having questions.
okay? What is the question?
Okay, so there is a question from Jagan Mohan. He's
Mhm.
asking that can we have a simple trail demonstration like what to do in the final session? Like what stuff can be added to the PPT and demo game to make it interesting and attractive to the jury?
Okay. So basically, what he's asking is how to make a PPT or how to do a presentation to the jury. Am I right? Is that the
Yes,
question?
yes.
Okay. So basic fundamental, while I do sessions on presentation skills also, the full form of PPT is PowerPoint. Okay. So there are a lot of people, even in corporates, I worked for almost now 1.5 decades. People make a lot of uh, PPTs, a presentation of 100 slides, 150 slides. It is not at all important. Trust me, it's not important. Best of the presentations are just 3 or 4 slides or 5 slides, not more than that. So you will never ever see a CEO or a head of marketing coming up with too many slides. So whatever you need to speak comes from here. Okay, it has to be in your brain, and that will happen only when you have done your enough homework. Okay, when you are prepared. Your PPT ideally should cover one thing, that is your introduction. What is it that you're bringing on the table? What is it that you want to show? Why are you there? Okay. What is your USP? Okay. Why you should be picked up, or they shouldn't have a reason to say no to you. And the last thing is a very conclusive ending with a lot of data, facts, and figures. See, it's very easy to speak. You can say whatever you want to say. I can say it is 12 right now. But does the data support that? No. If data says it is 12, 11:30, it is 11:30. So data is sacrosanct. So whenever you are getting into a business or any presentation, please ensure your data is very strong. Okay. The benefit of that is there would not be any kind of an unavoidable discussion, or an unpleasant situation where you get into an argument. Discussions are good, arguments are bad. Okay, remember that. Discussions are always good. A healthy discussion is always good. Argument would lead you nowhere. If you have data, you will never ever get into an argumentative mood. It is more logical, more rational. Just make three, four, five slides. Now, I don't know how much time would you be getting. There's a concept known as elevator speech. I don't know you have heard it or not. Elevator speech is very, very simple. That you meet a guy, you meet a big shot wherein you want to propose something, a new plan, a new business, you want an approval for something. And the time which you have is that you guys meet on a ground floor, you get into a lift, and you are going on the top floor, right? That is a time neither he can escape nor you can escape. He cannot say, I don't have time right now, I'm leaving, or meet me afterwards. Okay, by the time the lift or the elevator reaches the top floor or to his office, you should be able to convey your point across to a level wherein he gives you the business card and says, please meet me at so and so time. That is an elevator speech. Simple. So आपका PowerPoint जो है इतना strong होना चाहिए कि within 2, 3, 4 minutes it should create that impact. See, first 2 minutes of your presentation is good enough for any mature individual to understand what is your content, what is the meat, and what is it that you're talking, and whether it's making sense or not. Right? It's as simple as that. So, have I answered that question on your PowerPoint, that how to have a good presentation? Does it answer?
Yes.
Okay. Next question. I can take one more.
So we are also having questions from YouTube as well, streaming there also. So this
Okay.
is a question from Gaurav Shardul. He is asking
Mhm.
that when game is taken as inspiration for movies, do the game manufacturers still make profit?
Yes, they do. See, don't get into the business aspect right away. It depends on the kind of deal. So previously, if you would see, even in movies, the movie stars would actually just take their money and move out, right? They get, say, 1 crore, point 0.5 cr, 2 crores, whatever it is. Nowadays, they ask for rights. They even ask for, they can ask for, say, uh, South Star would ask that, South to find the production company or the producer will have all the profit, whereas whatever the profit comes from the northern region, they would want to have a share into it, right? Similarly, when games become inspiration for movies, gaming industry also makes, because again, it is an intellectual property. So it depends. If they sign a pact and they say that you can make a movie on this, see, it is like, there's a movie made on a book, right? Chetan Bhagat ki jo books hai, uspe movie bani hai. Okay. Now, Chetan Bhagat is actually a writer, but if you talk from a business perspective, we can always go and say that, I want a profit share if the movie is successful, right? Similarly, a gaming company can also ask for profit. So that is okay. That's not a problem. In fact, it could be the other way around as well. If there is a game made on Bahubali, right? I'm giving a hypothetical situation. I don't know whether that game exists or not. Okay. But if they make a game on that, they can always go ahead and, the production house can always go and tell the gaming company that if this game becomes successful, we would be needing the profit, right? Suppose that was the question.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So shall we move ahead?
Yes, sir, we can. Actually, we're having more questions also.
Yeah, please, please.
Can I take more questions?
Yeah, you can take one more, no problem. I think
So there's also
someone
question
needs to
from
be on mute. because there's a lot of echo. Yeah, Asta, you can speak.
There's a question from Chitran. He's asking that how is Lua for beginners?
How is?
Lua, Lua, Lua for beginners.
Okay, we will not go into too much of technical because it is a very, very elementary session, as I said. So I would request if you can skip the technical questions as of now, because this is more from the perspective of very new people. Because I might be knowing, but when I will give the answer with the pros and cons, there will be a lot of people, those who would not be comfortable with it. So as of now, we can kind of skip it. You can please mail it across this question to me. I'll be able to revert you in next 24 hours. Okay. So let's move ahead to uh, design elements. Okay. So basically, uh, in design elements, your design should be in a manner that it keeps the enthusiasm and the interest of the player really, really high. Okay. This is one of the most important aspects.
Excuse me, sir.
Yep.
Sir, Dr. Bhavna Dihambekar has raised her hand for asking a question.
Okay.
Can we take the question now?
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yeah, this was regarding actually the team leader wants to be changed actually. The team leader who was specified earlier, some other group member wants to be as the team leader.
Hmm.
So how this could be done?
Dr.
How
Bhavna,
does
this
it?
is a, I'll answer this question. Dr. Bhavna, this question will be taken after this session because it's a session. It is
Okay.
not about toilet. So we'll address this question post this session.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, Vanna, for stepping in. So I would not get into why the team leader wants to be changed. That is up to you guys. Okay.
Can we end
So
the session?
let's. Okay. Okay, I understand. So let's move ahead. Now let's come to something which is really in and which is actually trending and which is very, very latest. AR and VR, augmented reality and virtual reality. Have you guys heard of this? I'm sure you would have. Most of you. I'm sure most of you would be using VR devices also. So the basic thing is augmented reality is you actually get into that particular environment. Okay. And you go to that particular geography, you go to that particular place, and you start playing games in that particular environment. Okay. That is an augmented reality. In virtual reality, you have to create the environment. Okay. Now, when you have to create an environment, it's like, the difference between the real thing or the fiction. So you have got science and then you've got science fiction also, right? Similarly, in gaming, so somebody just asked which is better, Unity or Unreal. As I said, we will not get into engines and all. Both have their own uses. Depending on the use, you can pick it up. And as he said, it is for newbie. So to a newbie, I would suggest that he can explore both the engines and then basis the comfort level, you can use that particular engine. So that question just popped up, so I thought I'll answer it. Now, augmented reality and the virtual reality, the basic difference in the kind of environment which they are into. Now, there are four elements of game mechanics. I could have done this before also, but I was waiting that once we cover this augmented reality and virtual reality, then we'll come. The basic four elements of game mechanics are quantity, spatial, SPATIAL, state, and action. So quantity would be actually, the mechanics which are used. So mechanics that can be represented in form of numbers. Okay, for example, resource or currency. Okay, whether you want to use gold as a currency or a Bitcoin or dollars. Okay, there are certain things like where you would have something abstract, like the time frames and all. That is quantity. Spatial is mechanics which affect the space. So the gaming arena, what is gaming arena? It is world, it is India only, it is Asia only, or it is a specific geography, or it is a bound space. Okay. Then you have got state. Okay. Whether the player is grounded, he's in air, he's a paradropper, airborne, he's into swimming or whatever it is. And also state means whether you have won the game, lost the game. Okay. Then For objects, it could be on, off, open, closed, kind of binary, and very, very limited thing. And the last thing is action. So these are the mechanics which drive the change, or change management, a part of change management, whether the resource is uh, uh, it is into a shooting stage, or suddenly it comes into a halt, or it is a car game, it is into a moving state, or it is in a stop stage, or it is changing a direction. So these are basically action. Okay, you're locking a door, unlocking a door, you're jumping, you're running, you're you know maybe shooting a photograph, whichever, depending on the kind of game. So these are the four basic elements of game mechanics. So you have quantity, spatial, SPATIAL, state, STATE, and action, ACTION. So these are the four elements. Now, let's talk about the future of gaming. Uh, North America is definitely way ahead of us, whereas future of gaming is concerned in India. 5 years back, it was not there, but now you have got dedicated centers. Okay, that is a good part. You have dedicated centers where you can go learn the development, learn the designing. Okay, and at times they would actually offer you the work as well there itself. There's a lot of scope. Now, while this is a scope, lot of startups, if you're really good, you can open up your own training centers. So one aspect is grooming and training of your gamers, developers and designers. At the same time, a part of your team can also be a business development guy who can ensure that how these games get explored in the market. Okay, so how do gamers actually go and sell their games? So how does a startup get business? So they can be two ways. One is you form a company, and second is you become a freelance, independent, a game producer or a game developer. When I say game producer, you are the developer, you are the designer, you are the tester. Okay, and then you float it. Where do you float it? On online stores like Epic, Steam, etc., etc. Right. So this is about the opportunity. So when we come to opportunity, we have dedicated centers, we have training centers which also provide you work. You can be an independent gamer. If you are a company, make 2 3 people, a small organization, just like you have teams right now. So in the same team, one could be a developer, one could be designer, one could ensure that the game is sold out in market. He could go and explore all the online stores, so on and so forth. Now, why would your game sell? Number one, the quality has to be really good. Number two, the interest level of the people has to be very, very high. Okay. Third thing is, apart from the interest level, it should always have a better and new challenges. In a stage wise, it should not have for a player that, okay, I had this in stage one, stage two is no very different. Yeah, it's almost the same. Stage three is almost the same. Okay. So he or she would lose interest. That is one thing. Second thing, for example, your stage one is easy, your stage two is moderate, and your stage three is difficult. So when your stage three is easy, a lot of people are playing the game. Okay, they are highly interested. When you go to moderate, you skipped, the way you designed the moderate level was so difficult that people lost their interest. So जो difficult level में आना था वो आपने moderate में ही डाल दिया, तो बहुत सारे लोग difficult level तक पहुंचेंगे ही नहीं. In fact, they will lose interest in your game, so they will either uninstall or they will not buy it. Okay, so you have to keep the purpose and your audience into the mind. This is very, very important and very sensitive for the designer. And the designer has to get back to the developer and has to tell him that this is how you have to develop a game. This is the need of an hour. Okay. So important thing is create value and satisfaction for your players. Okay. And players, most of the most important thing, if you're getting into gaming industry, you should love playing games. Okay. This is a fundamental. अगर आप खुद games नहीं खेलते हो तो आप एक अच्छे डेवलपर और अच्छे डिजाइनर नहीं बन पाओगे. Lot of people started this thing as a hobby. What happens is very simple. कोई गेम खेल रहा है and then they suddenly realize that इस गेम में ऐसा भी तो हो सकता था, इस गेम में वैसा भी तो हो सकता था. Okay, or why can't we have this particular stage? And that is where their innovation takes a lead, and that is when They decide that I will develop my own game, maybe just for an experiment, and they end up making an amazing game and then they sell it off in the market. Okay, now the last thing just before we end the session or whatever I had to say, let me share some industry data. So in the year 2018, 2019, the gaming industry was running in a loss of around $7 billion. 2020, it was 159.3, almost $160 billion industry. Okay, and which was a rise of almost 9.3%, almost 10%. Okay, now 10% industry jump in the current scenario in pandemic is very, very good. No other industry, whether it is IT, whether it is automobile, whether it is insurance, no other industry has shown this kind of a growth. So for gaming industry, pandemic has become a kind of a boon in disguise. People have got nothing to do sitting at home, so they are sitting and either developing games or playing games, or they're all the time on their phone or laptops. Okay, and as it is said that all work and no play makes a jack a dull boy. So all the people those working from home, whenever they take a break, they prefer having online games. So this is the kind of growth. So if I see 8 to 9% or 10% growth year on year, so next 4 to 5 years, that's around 50 to 60% growth, which means it's a lot of money for you guys in India. And India again is a huge market with data cost coming down. Everybody having access to mobile phones, especially the smartphone with a larger screen. If you see now, 5G is also around the corner. You will see a lot of people previously used to have small phones. Now they have larger phones with larger screen size, and they are able to play games on it. The cost of gaming is going down. So I think there's a lot of scope, right? So with that, I would end this session, and I would really thank you all guys for sparing your precious time. Thank you guys. I hope it was helpful. Now we can have around 2 or 3 questions.
Yes, sir. So we are the first question that we are having from Anubhav Shukla. He's
Okay.
asking that what are the upcoming challenges in the gaming industry and how an Indian game can earn success in foreign countries? What are the expectations from the game in a developing company?
Okay. So there are two aspects to it. One is the challenges, right? Right. That is one
Yes,
thing.
yes, yes, yes.
And the second part is
Expectation, that what are the expectations from a game
okay.
developing company?
Okay. So challenges, I would say, as of now, the only challenge is the reach. How fast and how deep you can reach to the people. Understand, after China, India is the largest market, as I said. We are 150 billion. And trust me, India is a very young country. The average age of India is around somewhere between 30 to 35 years. Okay. While Japan is a very, very old country. So they have got a higher life expectancy. So ज़्यादातर वहाँ पे लोग जो हैं, they are of old age, whereas India is a very young country. So there's a lot of scope, but where you say, when you call a challenge, yes, there is a challenge in terms of reach. Now I'll tell you where the challenge happens. Uh, Penetration of mobile handsets is still not 100% apt. Okay, penetration of data is still less. Okay, so gaming mein there's a lot of scope, but the challenge is penetration. The day everybody is having a mobile phone, the day everybody has a broadband or high speed data, gaming industry is going to rock. That is one thing. But how do you reach there? Now, a good idea would be to have games in regional languages. तमिलनाडु के गांव में या केरला के गांव में, if they can afford a hand phone, if they can afford a data, and if they get a game which has a lot of local dialect, it will be helpful for them. And it is there everywhere. If you see movies, local movies work really good. For example, in Maharashtra, Marathi movie would do well. In South movies do really well. Okay. Similarly for web series, similarly even for animations. Okay, that is the reason lot of media is localized also. Similarly, if you feel that in a particular local area something is very prevalent, for example, it is a farming state, why can't you have games based on farming, right? फार्मर भी फ्री टाइम में खेत में बैठ करके सोचेगा चलो कुछ गेम ही खेल लेते, right? But it should be of his or her interest. Plus, if it is a local language, but you need to have that penetration and depth. You need to reach the masses. Right now, the challenge is how do you do that? So there has to be ways about it. And what is the second part?
Expectation from the game developing company.
Expectation is very simple. You need to keep your data updated. Okay. You need to do a lot of market research. You need to. Your expectation is very simple. Just meet the customer or the client's expectation. Okay. If someone is happy with your game, you have nailed it. आप बेहतरीन गेम बनाए but people don't like it. It's very simple, right? Yes. Any more questions?
We are actually getting more questions, but we are already 11:52.
We can take another 2-3 questions. We'll close sharp at 12.
Okay. So one question from Ritika Panda. She's asking that can we also make a browser-based game?
Yes, you can. You can make a browser-based game. You just click a browser. See, as I said, even a video game is a digital game, right? You make a browser-based game. Let people go, click over there. Okay. Just like you browse a website, you can start playing games. Simple. It depends how much people are interested into. If you suddenly see there's a lot of demand in market for a browser-based game, and people just want the link and where they can start browsing and playing, nothing like that. And I think that's the easiest thing.
Yes, sir. So this much questions we had.
Okay.
So
Thank you. I really appreciate your time, effort, energy, everything. You guys have been an amazing audience.
thank you so much, sir. It was an amazing, amazing session, and whatever information that we have get, I believe that all our attendees will be very, very beneficial with all your knowledge and definitely use them in the near future. So for now, I invite Ms. Vandana Sharma, Manager E-Cell, to give you a vote of thanks. Please, ma'am.
So thank you so much, Mr. Tarun, for your time and for agreeing on such a short notice. We are really thankful for such a valuable session. This guidance will definitely help Toycathon participants to add value to digital games designed by them, and will definitely motivate Acropolis students to ideate and innovate in digital domain also. I'm thankful to Ministry of Education Innovation Cell, AICT, Ministry of Women's and Child Development, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Ministry of MSME, Ministry of Textile, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting for this initiative of Toycathon for toy enthusiasts. I take this opportunity to thank AICT and MIC on behalf of Acropolis for allowing us to host Toycathon, for selecting Acropolis to be one of the nodal center to host Toycathon. We are really thankful to our management, our director, for allowing us and to give us this freedom that we can do things in innovation here, and you're well aware of this. And a very important thanks to Toycathon participant, because this all is for them and they have taken this initiative, such a wonderful participation, such an active participation. So we are very thankful to all Toycathon participants and all my team members for hosting this. So thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Tarun. Thank you all the participants for such active participation. I know due to lack of time, we could not take all the questions. But yes, we have copied all the questions. We'll try to get back to you with all the answers. We'll try to resolve all the queries.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. That was pleasure. It was really nice talking to all you guys. Okay. I hope if you have any other question or queries, you can definitely reach me through Vandana or your cell. And I really appreciate it. It was a pleasure talking to you guys. Thanks a ton. Bye-bye. Have a pleasant day. All the best for your future.
Thank you so much. So I request all the participants to please stay back. Sumesh, you can stop the telecast on YouTube.